This place is out of this world. Today I'm off to Easter Island, and hopefully, as you've seen by now, I'm in Chile for the solar eclipse. Everybody else who had the same idea to come down to Chile and then go to Easter Island booked up any award availability there might have been a long time ago. With that being said, airfare isn't that expensive and you can upgrade to business class for only $100 round trip. I'm crediting these flight miles to Alaska because Alaska still credits miles based on distance flown, and we're going about 5,000 miles. This is supposed to be a Dreamliner flight, but we are boarding this 777, so we'll see what happens, see what it looks like inside. 12A?
12?
Yeah.
This way, please.
Well, this is a complete surprise. It's a totally different seat than I was expecting. It's not the Dreamliner, and yeah, it's like kind of this old school seat.
Well, I knew I was going to be going back in time on this trip, but I didn't expect it to start on the flight. To say that this seat is dated is an understatement. Ooh, look at these secret seat controls I just discovered.
It is a pleasure for us to welcome you on board. As soon as you take our departure, please store carry-on luggage like bags in the back part of the seat in front of you, and place big carry-on luggage in the overhead seats. Please let us know if you need anything. Thank you.
Okay, they're serving hot towels now. This is actually the first time it even occurred to me. I haven't even seen a menu, so I'm assuming there's a meal service, but I don't know what that'll be. I'll keep you posted on that. There isn't even a USB port. There's like Ethernet jacks. Basically makes no sense at all. So this is the exact same amenity kit that I got on the flight down, the long haul flight. Toothbrush, cleansing towel, hand cream, pen, lip balm, eye mask. This is not an eye mask. Earplugs, eye mask, socks. I always save the toothpaste that comes with the amenity kit, so I never have to buy travel size toothpaste. This is completely useless. The only way you can move the seat is with this button here. Not the best product out there if you haven't gathered that already, but it's still comfortable for sleeping, and it's actually long enough for me. My feet are touching the end, but my head's got a little bit of room, so that's not so bad. If you have any idea what this plane is, where it came from, maybe just throw it in the comments. But this has got to be one of the most unique flights I've taken in a while. The seats are so old and breaking, lots of people having issues, some of them won't fold down. Also, here's something that's kind of bizarre. I'm at the galley behind business class and there isn't a single other person in here. So it's literally just me. I don't have no idea where the crew are. I guess they're probably up in the front, but kind of strange. So I never got a menu, they just served the tray. Here you go, here's lunch, eat it. Not really sure what you would do if you were a vegetarian or vegan. So the in-flight entertainment is null. There are two channels, best I can tell. One is playing a soap opera, the other playing like a children's movie. There's a screen that shows elapsed time, but it's definitely not the amount of time we've been flying. The quirks continue. Business class on a lot of planes, there's no personal air vents. I don't know why, but it's a thing. This $10 USB fan essentially makes your own air vent. So I was thinking I would use it on this flight, but of course there are no USB ports. But I think I have a solution to that problem. Life is so hard. Even though it's kind of a strange flight, this mattress pad made the bed actually very comfortable. Alright, we made it. Oh, it's quite a bit warmer here. have no idea where we go, but I'm just gonna walk this way until somebody tells me otherwise. What a strange plane. Strange plane. I got a sweet necklace.
Flowers.
Flowers. Hey guys, it's been, well, 2 days actually. What I think I'm gonna do is give you the rundown, give you the basics of how this place works, and then I'll throw you a bone and answer some of the most common questions that you can imagine. Now, why is it called Easter Island? Well, it has nothing to do with Easter, aside from the fact that it was discovered on Easter Sunday in 1722 by Dutch explorers. I haven't seen the Easter Bunny. It's famous for these giant stone statues called moai, which cover the island. The moai were excavated from this quarry, Rano Raraku. It's home to more than 400 moai, more than anywhere else on the island. This is the largest one they've found. It was never raised upright, but it's more than 70 feet long and weighs more than 250 tons. Mystery of all is how the moai were moved and transported, in some cases as far as 8 miles from the quarry. It's hard to put into words how big they really are, but if I get a little bit closer, maybe it'll help. Some theories suggest they were moved on sleds and dragged over. The island is home to 3,000 Rapa Nui people and 3,000 to 4,000 Chileans who live here full time. Last year, 120,000. Oh, hi, you want to be in the video? You're in it. Last year, 120,000 tourists visited, which kind of pushed the island to the limit. Now they have a limit. You can only stay for a maximum of 30 days. On each flight, LATAM brings in things as cargo that they need for everyday life on the island. Things like hospital supplies, for example. And all of this is paid for by Chile. Because there are no more than 2 flights a day, my hotel knew exactly when I would arrive and sent a shuttle to pick me up, which is great because when I plugged in directions on Google Maps, it said it could not find a way to my hotel. Okay, those are kind of the basics. Now let me answer the questions I know you guys have been wondering. First of all, can you high-five the moai? You cannot high-five the moai. Are there magnetic rocks? Well, yes, it turns out there are. I have no way of testing it, but I'm told this one is magnetic. Does the view suck? No, it does not. It does not at all. In fact, it's very good. Pretty much everywhere you look. Is there traffic? Classic Easter Island traffic jam. Let me go around these guys here. Is it nice for swimming? And I know what you're thinking. Well, could I fly my private jet there? Yeah, you can do that too. Can you go for a jog on the runway?
They're all. What is going on here?
Could you come here and stream an entire season of Game of Thrones? Nope, you can't. In fact, streaming doesn't work here at all. And the internet is extremely slow in general. It's all satellite-based Wi-Fi, so it doesn't really work when there's super cloudy weather or rainstorms, which there are almost every single day. Is it possible to be above ground and below ground at the same time? You decide. Perhaps the most important question of all, can you get Amazon Prime 2-day shipping? Nope. You cannot. And my concierge at the hotel said he ordered a phone case from China and it took 3 to 5 months to get here. With that being said, other things could arrive in as few as 3 to 5 days, but
you've got mail.
Don't count on it. Oh! Finally, do you start going a little bit crazy after being on a small island in the middle of the ocean for 5 days? Yes! Whoa! Woo-hoo! Okay, so that's it for Easter Island. I'm watching the last sunset on the island, duh. And I'm excited to be going home tomorrow because after a couple days here, you get a little bit sick of being on an island so isolated from the rest of society, at least I do. Anyways, make sure and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the series, or don't, whatever, it's your life. Later. Are sea urchins sharp? Oh, they're not that sharp. They look so prickly. All right, the more you know. Well, as people know, we didn't book it with points for the video, in large part because the cash fares are super duper reasonable. Only about $100 to upgrade round trip.
That's crazy. And if you're already going that far, like you're already down in Chile,
Yeah.
why not bop on over?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really crazy, unique place to go, and Santiago is basically the only place you can fly there from, unless you happen to find yourself in Tahiti.
So you said, so it's Santiago. I'm gonna go on Google Flights. Take a look.
Santiago to IPC.
IPC. Totally. $426.
Yeah, that's so good. So, and you get, it's like an almost 6-hour flight, and you get a lie flat bed, you get a meal, so. Hopefully you'll get the Dreamliner. That's the plane that I had on the way back, and that's the plane I was supposed to have. Unfortunately, I had kind of the super janky old 777.
You did not get the plane you thought it was gonna be.
I guess it's just kind of a crapshoot.
So like you said, I mean, it's a pretty reasonable cash fare, but if you, for whatever reason, wanted to book it on points, what do we suggest? How do we do that?
Yeah. The only way to search for availability is on BritishAirways.com, like we did for the ticket where we flew down there. But the thing is, you wouldn't want to book this with BritishAirways.com.
Okay, so you search on British Airways for availability, award availability.
Yeah.
But where does one book it?
Because British Airways charges, they're distance based, so they're going to charge you a certain number of miles per distance flown. The reason you wouldn't book it on their website is because it would cost you a ton of miles, and Alaska has great rates for this redemption. So
Alaska?
Yeah, so Alaska miles.
Why?
Or American. You can use either one.
Because they're all in the same alliance?
Essentially, LATAM and American are in the same alliance, One World. They're in the same alliance as British Airways. That's why you can use British Airways to search. Alaska is not in the alliance. This is going to confuse the crap out of you.
Let's do it.
Alaska is not in the alliance, but they're friends of the alliance.
They're casual. They're non-committal.
Yeah, they're partners. So, but they're not partners within the alliance. They have these agreements with these various airlines, and one of them is LATAM. So Alaska, I wrote this down here, but I read a couple of conflicting reports, but it only varies by 5,000 miles. So Alaska will charge you 45,000 miles. Actually, this is the deal of the century, to go from the U.S. to Chile and all the way to Easter Island, one way in business class. 45,000 miles, Alaska miles.
Why didn't we do that?
Well, I believe it's because we had a pretty excess of chase points, and Zach, who books all the travel for this series, he makes the calls on which points to use and why. Alaska miles are also super valuable.
Oh, because Alaska miles are hard to
They're harder to, yeah. So for TPG reasons, makes more sense for us to use chase points. Also, yeah, exactly. We had more of them.
Cool.
And since Alaska allows stopovers on one-way awards, you could literally book a trip where you fly from the U.S. to Chile, stay there for up to 7 days, and then continue your itinerary onto Easter Island. All that included in the same 45,000 mile business class ticket, and you would have, so the flight down is 11 and a half hours, so you end up with 16 and a half hours in business class for 45,000 miles.
What's the sign up on the Alaska card right now?
So I think it's 40,000 for the personal and business. So by the time you do all the spending that you need in order to hit the bonus, you basically have enough miles to do this.
Wow.
And that's like that's the whole trip, not just Easter Island. LATAM availability does not show on Alaska's website. When I was really starting out in this world, this was the stuff that tripped me up the most, because I was like, what do you mean you can't search for the flights you want on the site where you would book them? It's like, how the hell do you get over that?
Yeah.
And honestly, it's tricky, but you just have to think of it as like, I mean, each airline website is just a search engine for flights, and some of them are better at finding certain flights than others. And I guess the legwork that you have to do as someone who's interested in miles and points is just know which websites are best for finding what availability.
And somehow British Airways is the best we have.
Yeah, British Airways, while not the greatest, is pretty much the best for finding availability on One World Airlines.
I have beef with British.
Yeah.
Because every time we try to use it, it doesn't work.
I feel you. But once you find availability, what you would do is you would be like, all right, cool, there's flights available on September 28th. And then you would call Alaska.
Call them on the phone.
And be like, hey, I want to go to Easter Island, and I found availability already. It just helps whenever you call an airline to book an award trip if you just tell them you already found availabilities. So tell them, like, I already looked, I found availability on this date, here's the flight. You can tell them the flight number for this, it wouldn't really matter because there's only one a day. But just say, like, I found availability on this day, and then they'll be able to see it, assuming all the systems are working correctly, and they book it for you, and they would use your Alaska miles.
In theory, if you were going from anywhere in the US to Chile, and then Chile to Easter Island, do you have to find 2 award availabilities, like on those each leg that are within a couple days of each other?
So you need to find both flights within a 7-day span. It's also worth mentioning, remember, we got down to Chile another way. So this is just potentially a way to get to Easter Island. However, it would be best to incorporate the flight all the way down from the US. You'd get the most value out of your points doing it that way. Okay, so the other pro tip I have about going to Easter Island to book with cash, if you use, and this is typical of some other airlines, international airlines as well, if you use the website for the local language of the airline, sometimes you can find airfare for a lot cheaper.
Heard that.
Yeah. Now, sometimes that can be tricky because the website's in a different language, but if you have like Chrome or something which will translate it, it usually works. So if you use the Chilean version of the LATAM site to book the ticket with cash, you might get like a $200 break on both of the fares. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, and so that would be probably the best. That would be my recommendation, honestly, because at that point it's such a cheap flight that you're saving your miles for something else, and you're not bound to the schedule of the award availability.
Mm-hmm. And you can earn miles.
And you earn miles, exactly.
Well, that makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to other people. So if you guys need a better breakdown, there's going to be a post in the description. Possibly also a little annotation that'll take you to like a written how-to on our website on thepointsguy.com.
And if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and we'll get back to them as soon as we can.
Definitely.
Thanks for watching this episode. Subscribe to the channel to get all of our best travel tips and for a sneak peek of where I'm off to next.